Chief Executive John Lee leads LegCo members and officials to tour Greater Bay Area. Seasonal flu is becoming more serious in the city. And DSE exams start for thousands of students. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Chief Executive John Lee is leading a large delegation of lawmakers and government officials to tour 4 cities in the Greater Bay Area. The trip will hopefully allow Hong Kong and other cities in the Greater Bay Area to join forces in promoting the high-quality development of the region and help the city better integrate into the overall development of the country. The Chief Executive-led LegCo government tour group arrived in Shenzhen at around 6 p.m. Hong Kong's main university entrance exam, the Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education Examination, also known as the Hong Kong DSE, held its first day of written exams today. Students were not required to provide negative RAT results, but had to wear a mask when taking the English language exam this morning. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Despite the dropping of most anti-COVID restrictions, certain measures against the pandemic remain in effect for candidates of the HKDSE exam. The Examinations and Assessment Authority mandated that all candidates have their temperatures tested, provide health declaration forms, and wear a mask throughout the duration of the examination. This student said the mask does not affect her performance, and that she was used to wearing it during previous tests. A secondary school principal said this year's COVID-related restrictions have significantly eased, adding that only a small number of students did not fill in their declaration forms prior to arriving at the exam site. As for infected candidates, they could take the DSE exam at the Cognitio College's former campus in Sampok Kong. They had to register with the Examinations and Assessment Authority earlier via phone or email. Some candidates said they were hopeful about achieving their desired exam results.
In the morning, I didn't feel that worried about the whole DSE exam because I think that the attitude and my mental strength is the most important thing for the DSE.
I thought most of it was pretty good. English is kind of my strong suit in terms of the language subjects. People were definitely more tense than usual compared to their normal tests at school. Considering this is the DSE, so I think that's really normal. There weren't a lot of guys like having lots of, I guess, emotions during that time. Everyone's really serious.
But others were less optimistic.
So I woke up this morning at 2 a.m. and tried to study for English. It was a hard journey towards 2 to 6 a.m. Constantly studying. I knew that I wasn't able to achieve such a high standard in such a short period of time, so I tried to plan schedule for different subjects.
English language takes the spot for the most popular subject in this year's DSE exam, selected by more than 47,000 candidates. Continuing with the English subject tomorrow, students will take the English listening and integrated skills exam tomorrow morning. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Co-founder and former chairman of Alibaba Group Jack Ma has been invited to be an honorary professor at the University of Hong Kong. The 3-year term began earlier this month. Foreign Minister Qin Gang is embarking on a 3-day official visit to the Philippines starting today, where he will hold talks with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Earlier today, Qin attended the Lanting Forum in Shanghai, where he explained and defended China's position in response to criticism from some Western countries. Daniel Rao tells us more. In Sudan, a precarious ceasefire appears to be failing after a week of fighting, which has seen hundreds of people die. The paramilitary group, the RSF, had committed to a 72-hour truce for the Muslim festival of Eid, but the army has not publicly agreed to stop fighting. The international community is stepping up its efforts to try to mediate peace. David Garrett reports.
Eid al-Fitr, the Islamic holiday that follows Ramadan, is a time for celebration, but not in Sudan. A 72-hour ceasefire appears to have failed. This is the skyline in the capital, Khartoum, today. Smoke is rising into the air and gunfire can be heard. earlier intense fighting. The continuing struggle between General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, who disagree over how the country should be run. Dagalo rules the Rapid Support Force and has thousands of soldiers in his ranks. The RSF declared a ceasefire via social media to coincide with Eid. The Post said, "We agree to a truce for a period of 72 hours. We offer condolences to all Sudanese for the innocent lives that were lost." That was followed by a televised statement from General Burhan, who runs the army and is in effect the country's leader. "We are going to pass this ordeal with our beloved people and will be unified and stronger. One people," he told the nation. He stopped short of supporting a ceasefire. As people continue to flee the violence, international voices are warning of a humanitarian catastrophe.
Hundreds of people have been killed and injured. Fighting in urban areas is particularly dangerous for civilians, including children, who have repeatedly been forced to shelter in schools and evacuate from hospitals under fire. This is completely outrageous. Humanitarian operations are virtually impossible.
General Burhan has spoken with regional leaders, the foreign ministers of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken.
We urge the SAF and RSF to extend the current ceasefire through Sunday, April 23rd, which would be the end of Eid. Secretary Blinken has also made very clear that any attacks, threats, and dangers posed to U.S. diplomats are totally unacceptable.
In view of the Sudan situation, Britain's Foreign Secretary James Cleverly cut short a Pacific tour, leaving New Zealand early, a conflict in Africa that has diplomats from all over the world mobilising to try to secure peace. David Garrett, TVB News.
In New Mexico in the U.S., prosecutors said they will dismiss an involuntary manslaughter charge against actor Alec Baldwin in the fatal shooting of a cinematographer in 2021. The shooting took place on the set of a Western movie being filmed at the time. But prosecutors cautioned that their investigation is not over and the actor has not yet been absolved yet. Tracy Furness has more.
Lawyers for Baldwin were first to announce that prosecutors were changing course in a sharp turnaround for the Hollywood star facing the possibility of a long prison sentence. The decision came after new evidence surfaced on the gun Baldwin was using that fired the live round that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins during the filming of the Western movie Rust in 2021. Baldwin, 65, was charged in January with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter in connection with Hutchins' death and the injury of Rust director Joel Souza. The movie's weapon handler, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, was also charged with involuntary manslaughter, but her prosecution will continue. The veteran actor denied responsibility for the shooting. He said he cocked the revolver but never pulled the trigger, and it was the job of the armourer, Gutierrez-Reed, and other weapons professionals to ensure it was unloaded. New evidence shows that the reproduction-long Colt 45 Peacemaker revolver had been modified, which has compromised the argument that the gun was fully functioning and could only have fired if Baldwin pulled the trigger. Investigators have not been able to explain how live rounds made it onto the film set. The dramatic turn in this case arrived on the same day that Baldwin and other cast members resumed filming the movie in Montana. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
There has been a rise in seasonal influenza cases in Hong Kong, with an increase in both serious cases and a death rate. Mimosa Ngai reports. After the large-scale power outage on Hong Kong Island Wednesday, the government said it is dissatisfied with the performance of electricity provider Hong Kong Electric. It also questioned why the company received $5 million worth of compensation for its failure. BMW has been forced to apologize after it was accused of discrimination at the Shanghai Auto Show. The car giant was giving out free ice creams at its mini stall to encourage people to view the vehicle. BMW employees appeared to offer freebies to foreigners while ignoring Chinese. The German manufacturer was heavily criticized in videos on social media and was trending second in a PR disaster. The company admitted the error, putting it down to poor internal management. Meanwhile, prices in Hong Kong in March went up 1.7% year-on-year. The government predicted that the pressure of inflation will continue to increase but will stabilize for the short term. Now let's take a look at the weather. Mainly cloudy with occasional showers tomorrow. Rain is less likely as the day continues, while temperatures will range from 23 to 26 degrees Celsius. And that's the news for tonight. Thank you for watching.